Hello everyone and welcome back to QuicksaveTV, your #1 source for Skyrim coverage on YouTube. I'm very glad to have you here because today we're gonna talk about the Alteration Magical School. Let's just without further ado talk about the skill tree, the perk tree. Alteration as such is... Oh yeah, I'm just gonna give you... I'm gonna read it to you first and then tell you my opinion. The School of Alteration involves the manipulation of the physical world and its natural properties. This skill makes it easier to cast spells like water breathing, magical protection, and paralysis. Now my opinion. As a magical school, it's absolutely useless. Absolutely. As the perk tree, it's probably the best perk tree in the game, which stands in the same line with the restoration. God, do I love restoration. So we have the Novice Alteration, Apprentice Alteration, Adept, Expert, and Master Alteration. Perfect. That's just a straight line. From this straight line, we have the deviation. Let's talk about deviation. We have dual casting, we have Mage Armor, we have Magic Resistances, and we have Stability, and also we have Atronach. Okay, now let's just talk about the school. It's probably my favorite perk tree as such. It's very beautiful. It's very well done. So now, as such, the perk tree, as you go in the spell levels, you would like to take all the Expert, Master, Apprentice, Novice, Expert, Apprentice, yeah, all of them are very useful to cast easier the spells of appropriate level. Let's not focus about it. If you watched my video about Restoration, Illusion, or Distraction, I mean, you're fairly acknowledged to this thing, so there's no point to waste any more time on it. Dual casting is just as distractions, restorations, or illusions dual casting, so it just allows you to cast using the both hands instead of using each hand individually, which increases the power of the spell. Now then we have from the Apprentice Alteration, we have deviation towards the Mage Armor and my favorite, Magic Resistance. Now the Mage Armor protection spells like Stone Flesh are twice as strong, if not wearing armor. In the last level, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be 3 times as strong. So now, yes, you can use this skill, you can use this perk, you will use different spells such as Oak Flash, Iron Flash, Ebony Flash, but hell, isn't it easier to put on the armor? It just seems so illogical. The bonus from the Mage Armor is so small, and in general the whole shields, not even shields, the increased armor from Alteration idea is so weak compared to just putting on the armor. In all honesty, I just don't see how it's logical or feasible. Whenever you have 0 amount of protection, your Alteration protection spells will be 3 times as strong. How is it useful? Instead, why not just put an armor? Yes, robes, hoods, perfect, but use the gloves, use the boots, use the armored version of them. It's very effective. What's the point not to do that? Another one is magic... Goddamn. Magic Resistances. Yes, my skill tree is flying around. Magic Resistances. It's my favorite perk in the whole tree of the Alteration, which allows you to have 30% in total magical resistance. It's crazy, alright? It's for free and it's crazy. And the best part, you don't have to focus on Alteration magic. Yes, you have to take 2 additional skills, 2 perks wasted, and then you have the 3 perks of magic resistances, which needs exactly for 5 perks. Then from Adept Alteration we have Stability. Alteration spells have greater duration. It's useful for anyone focusing on Alteration, obviously, as his or her spells will last twice as long, and majority of the spells, if not all. Oh god, if it applies to Paralysis... Paralysis as such is for 10 seconds. If that applies to Paralysis, it means you can cast Paralysis for 20 seconds. I take it back about Alteration. Alteration is the strongest spell school of them all. If it applies to Paralysis, which I'm not aware of, then it's the strongest school, probably. You can paralyze the enemy for 20 seconds. It's a door, I apologize for that. So from Expert Alteration, just go ahead and open it. From Expert Alteration, you have the deviation to the Atronach. You seen it? So, to the Atronach, let me just go ahead and sit back in my chair, I apologize for that. The Atronach allows you to consume 30% of the magicka used to cast spells that hit you. Now, if before the spells hitting you wouldn't give you any benefit as such, now you're gonna get 30% of the magicka that hits you, and you'll be able to use it as your own. It's very useful for someone to conserve his magicka or to get additional magicka without spending any money. Now, and Master Alteration, just you know, forget about Master Alteration. It's just classical spell school, as any other, such as Distraction, Illusion, or Alteration. Now, perfect. Now that we discussed the perks, let's go ahead and look at some of the skills, some of the spells of the school. I have all of the spells written down, but I'm going to show to you only some of them, as I believe majority of them are useless. So we have the Candlelight, the most basic spell and the easiest way to train your Alteration, because it doesn't require anything. You will always hit the target. The target is yourself. You create this little light, which is very useful for someone who likes to explore dungeons, doesn't like to turn on his gamma settings very high, and just in general have additional light. As it follows you, it's very easy to use, right? And you can switch back to any weapon you just had before it. You can even run around with two-handed and have some additional light there. It's not very useful for rogues, as it's gonna light you and will make sneaking very, very difficult. Perfect. The next one is Detect Life. Detect Life, I believe, is absolutely useless. I don't know what the Bethesda were thinking about when they were creating the Detect Life, but they were obviously not thinking about the balance, because Detect Life allows you to see through walls, allows you to see living object. Detect Dead, on the other hand, which I don't have with me, allows you to see dead through walls, such as Draugr, such as Dragon Priests, and everything of the like. Now, if that is the case, you'll say, how is that useful? How is that useless? I will say it's useless because there is a shout with exactly the same idea, the Aura Whisper. Your voice is not a shout but a whisper, revealing the life forces of any and all. So I have the Aura Whisper. What's the point to have a spell with the same effect? That's very silly, don't you think? Now, the Ebony Flash allows you to improve your armor rate. Let's just go ahead and check my armor rating before casting it. Apparel, 189. Let's just cast it. 189. 289 by 100. With the appropriate skill, it will be 300 additional armor if I wouldn't wear any armor. But how? It's not very useful. Just look at my armor, okay? Let me just equip my armor. Look at this. 640. Right, I'm not even specialized in it. Minus 100, perfect, 540. It's already more than 300. What's the point to use it? Yes, there is no point to use it. However, once you reach the mastery in Alteration, there's going to be additional 2 spells you will be able to obtain. One of them is Mass Paralysis, another of them is the Dragon Hide, which reduces all incoming damage by 80%, physical damage. Oh, well, that's just outrageously good, right? But this is an exception, and this is only at master's level. Everything else seems to be not very good. And the last one I'd like to show you is Telekinesis, which is again not necessarily the most useful thing in the world, but I'm just going to show you how it works. If you lift the item and hold it, and then you release the mouse button, you throw it. You can throw the things at the enemies like this. If you lift it and press E, you pick it up. That's how Telekinesis works. Again, it has limited uses. I never tested it in combat, but I have to say I don't really like it all that much. It consumes a lot of mana, very hard to use. It doesn't seem very useful. There's much more powerful distraction spells instead of, you know, bothering with the Telekinesis. Telekinesis is fun, but that's it. It's not very useful as such. Then there's additional spells of Paralysis, what is it? Water breathing. Paralysis and water breathing. Paralysis just paralyzes the target. It's very nice. If the target cannot resist the paralysis, it's going to be paralyzed. Now, majority of the fighting schools, one-handed, two-handed, and archery, all have paralysis of a kind, right? They have archery as such is the most disbalanced, as it has the passive paralysis chance, 15%. Others, you have to perform a specific attack backwards, if I'm not mistaken, which will paralyze the target in 25% of 25% of the time. So it's strong, right? And if this skill applies on the twice as long effect, then it's just super powerful right here, I think. Stability. If it applies, it's just super powerful. Now just let me show you my favorite perk in the Alteration. Alright. More. 30%. Now you know what that means? That means that you can get 95% resistance easily in the game. Easily, without any cheating or anything. You get plus 30% from Alteration. The magical resistance, plus 20% from your ring, plus 20% from your amulet, and plus 25% from the Lord Stone. Now that means that in total you have 95% resistance to magic. Magicsk. 95% resistance to magicsk. So that means that you're virtually unpenetratable by magic. How strong is that? Gosh, I should try it on one of my new characters. So yeah, that would be it for the alteration. There's also 2 unique spells which can be found around the world. I don't want to spoil them to you because, you know, I'm not going to tell you where you can find them, but I'm probably going to tell you effects. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler, just stop listening right now. Just pause the video and just like it, subscribe, share with your friends, but don't watch further. If you want to know what the spells are Transmute and Equilibrium. Transmute allows you to... I actually have Transmute with me right here. Transmute allows you to transmute iron ore to silver ore, and silver ore to golden ore. This way you can create a lot of golden bars and mess with them like I like to do. Just put them on piles, play with them, you know, just being stupid all around. Very interesting spell, but it's not very useful as such because, you know, money are not very easy to not very hard to obtain in the game, so it's not so useful. And the Equilibrium allows you to transfer your health into Magicka. It's useful, relatively useful, but again, it's very questionable. I don't think you will have as the transfer rate, I think 1-to-1, it's not going to be so useful because you're not going to have so much unlimited health, you know, in order to transform into your magic. I don't think it's so useful. It's just, you know, like a playful skill, not so useful. If the transfer rate wouldn't be the 1-to-1, would be 2-to-1, for example, it would be much better, much more effective. But as 1-to-1, it's not very useful. So, okay, thank you very much for watching the video. Thank you very much for joining us here today. If you enjoyed the video, enjoyed the commentary, go ahead, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, favorite the video if you would like to support and promote my work. It helps very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I helped you somehow. If I didn't, if I missed something, please go ahead and ask the question. I'll be happy to answer it. And yeah, have a great day.